Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is OSKAR, and I am here in the name of Santa Maria Cathedral Foundation in order to share with you the ideas that are behind our work and also the works that we have carried out during the last 19 years. Well, the concept of the cultural heritage is not fixed, it's always transforming, especially during the last 50 years. It's clear that we have the necessity to view heritage from different disciplines, but also it's necessary to have clearly what is the main purpose. But perhaps in rules and the guidelines, there is not clear anything about the process. And for us, the process itself is one of the most important things. Why? Because first, we are able to discover our past, we can ensure our present cultural activity, and we are ready to prepare the future generations to take care of the cultural heritage. So it's important to share all the process with you. Vitoria, as you probably know, is located in the north of Spain and the south of the Basque Country. It has grown a lot during the last 150 years, but it has a very important characteristic, and it's a city with two cathedrals. The new one, built in the 20th century, and the old one, Gothic cathedral, which in fact it is difficult to describe in few words, but I would like to define it like a tale against the collapse. And it's clear that when a person gets older, the skeleton and the body should to adapt to the new situation. And that's exactly the same with these old buildings. In 1991, for us, the time stopped. Why? Because a very big piece of stone fell down from the southern transept vaults. So the alarm started again. The first preliminary studies carried out by Italian experts show a very unusual situation because it was in risk of collapse. So what to do? Before doing nothing, we need to understand what was really happening. So we decided to install some measuring elements and monitoring system, trying to understand what was the problem. Of course, we need to get time by reinforcing the fabric, introducing bracings to have security during the first preliminary works. In parallel, we need new layouts. You can see here a layout from the 19th century, but due to our technology today, we decided to prepare a 3D photogrammetric model. I would like to point out that this is the first time that a cathedral was drawn by this system all over Spain. So it was also this designing process a challenge for us. When we have to approach to this kind of complex buildings, there are several points of view. First of all, the synchronical analysis. Why? Because we need to have a fixed photograph of the state of the building. So from different disciplines, we have to research and study the building. But also the diachronical analysis. Why? Because we need to know all the history of the building. And each period has some clues directly into the building. So we shouldn't forget, and it's quite important for us, that before us, a lot of people has worked in the cathedral. Especially, it was a very big, very important restoration during the 60s of the 20th century. It's, as I tell you before, it's important to understand that now we are leaving our clues into the building, but the rest did exactly the same. So society and technology can also be understood by these restoration works. For us, it's quite difficult to manage with all the information, and we thought that the best thing was to prepare a geographic information system. It's quite simple. There are some databases linked to that photogrammetric 3D model. But apart from these two first points of view, it was very important the emotional analysis. Why? Because we have two cathedrals. Most of the people of Vitoria were proud of the new cathedral, but a lot of people nowadays think that the old cathedral is not, it's difficult to explain, but they are not proud of it. So, as you can see, it was almost forgotten. Nowadays, it's impossible to imagine this situation in a West End. This is a garage. It was a garage, a private garage for the neighborhood. So, our first intention was to attract the attention of the inhabitants of Vitoria-Gasteiz. We need a plan, and the master plan was published in the 2000, and again, it's a fixed photograph of the real estate of the building, but at the same time, it's a general overview and a frame to guide the rest of the work. After the master plan, we realized that we have very important problems, static and structural problems, but imagine that we go to the doctor with a headache, and the doctor say, well, you have headache, and it is absolutely necessary to cut your head. Logically, does not sense. So, firstly, we need to ensure again what was really happening. And during the archaeological research and the archaeological excavations, we have not only the possibility to discover our past, but also to understand how was the real estate of the foundations. People are important, ideas are important, but the keys sometimes of this very complex project lies on the institutions. In our case, the Vitoria City Town Hall, the Bishopric, and the Province Council. And we try to work in a horizontal line. We have a main director and 3 different areas, financial one, communication, and technical one. To resume this, the 3 main ideas of this process, firstly, we can talk about the meticulousness of the work and research that we do. Secondly, it's important to coordinate all the activities and the programs not only with the cathedral itself, but also with the rest of the city and the province, and of course the rest of the landscape around us. And thirdly, it's important to the definition of control mechanisms and publicity in order to share and spread our work, but without making any damage in the building. After the master plan, the second part of the general overview was the restoration draft project, and from that project hangs the rest of the smaller project. So the works started around 2001, and the main part of the cathedral was, not the main part, but probably artistically and historically speaking, the most interesting part is the west end of the portico. So we have done a lot of works, architectural and restoration work, but in fact, what makes really different this project is that we are trying to give it back the society, the investment that they have put in the cathedral. How? Open it for works. So people have the possibility to see what are really doing in real time. In order to achieve that purpose, we have some different paths to separate the visitors from the workers. And well, the title of the conference, of the talk, was Beyond an Architectural Restoration. And in fact, for our point of view, the most important thing that we have done is the cultural activity. Cathedrals have always functioned like a cultural engine of each period. And that was our main purpose, recover that. Of course, we can publish everything we do, as usual. We try to recover religious costumes and traditions. We try to involve ourselves in the neighborhood. In this case, we lend some scaffolding for repairing this facade. We have the opportunity also to understand how these kind of buildings were built. For example, this is an excursion from the quarry of stone to the cathedral. And nowadays, 3 or 5 times per year, is it possible to have a look exactly the same way of the stone from the nature to the building. We need to spread our work, and we deal with different writers from abroad and from here, but for us it's also important to understand that the cathedral works like a lighthouse, because it's very visible, the cathedral, but there are a lot of monuments in the Basque Country and of course in our area, and they are related to the cathedral, and we organize excursions in order to know them. Every year we organize competitions, photograph competitions, painting competitions, again to involve the people in the project. Arts and crafts workshops, and we have also developed some events to understand how the life was like in the medieval ages. Nowadays, after consolidating the main structural problems, we look to the future. And the future, of course, it's important to use our nowadays technology, like internet, virtual reality, and also try to put in the building architectural modern concepts, like recycling. These tubes, for example, were the first one that were installed like a metal strengthened element in the cathedral. Nowadays, they are now apart from a new staircase. Also, it's important to eliminate barriers of architectural barriers, and we need to install new lifts and this kind of elements in order to be able to show all the building for all the people. But of course, if we talk about the future lies on the education. Nowadays, the cultural heritage conservation is one of our main tasks, because we are identified with this kind of buildings, and the future lies on the children and their education. So we organize, of course, every year and almost every day different activities with schools and universities. To conclude, I would like to show you a little example of our work related to the design. This is the portico. The portico was finished in the 16th century, and then during the 18th century, because of the streams, air streams, it was totally closed. So the first thing we do was recover the relationship between the street and the cathedral across the portico, because the portico itself is the part of the building to contact the rest of the city. Due to a very accurate research work about the polychromy and the paintings of the building, we were able to imagine how was it painted in different times. And how to do it? It's quite easy. Simply projecting live without any damage in the building. As you can see here, the final result is to see how was painted in architecture in real time, on real time. Now we have a new challenge, and the cathedral also has to be involved in this challenge. And finally, to conclude, only to point out that the success of Santa Maria Cathedral and the foundation and the restoration work doesn't lie only in the accuracy of archaeological researching of the architectural work. Probably the most important thing is to recover all the cultural activity and to give it back to the society all the knowledge that we are receiving. Of course, this process is difficult to be finished, and in fact never ends, because we still have a lot of things to do, and especially we have a very important work, which is maintenance. Finally, I would like to thank you, my teammates, because I am a part of a group, and I would like to give thanks also to all anonymous people that make it possible the project work. Thank you very much.